This video is for small business, network administrators, and IT students. It's about OpenSUSE Linux and X2Go remote access software. The end of this lesson will not be the traditional, now you can do anything. Instead, you'll end up with a real business database of accounting and word processing documents for you to play with. To install Linux, lots of computers will work. We're going to use a ThinkCenter Teeny, which is a nice little box. The important part of this project is how to select and configure all that open source software into something workable that'll meet your business needs. The magic is contained in a 600-line script called GiantLeapTechnical-X2GoServer. You're invited to review that little script and take a look at each section of the install process. It's my little contribution to open source. There's one video about installing the server operating system and another about installing Windows client software. That's enough to get you going. There are additional videos about updating X2Go client software and preparing the ThinkCenter Teeny hardware. The last video takes a look at how that magic GiantLeapTechnical-X2GoServer script does its job. My name is Mike Gallets. Questions and comments to Mike G at GiantDatabase.com. This video is part of the Giant Leap project. How to install OpenSUSE Leap 15.1 to make a X2Go file and web server. Why make a cloud server out of a physical box? Think about control. You can point to your data. Look, it's right there in that little box. It's not floating around someplace on the internet. We're going to install from a USB flash drive. The files for the install come from OpenSUSE, and we're going to put one more partition out there with install leap151.zip file. That's our secret sauce. The computer we're going to use today is a ThinkCenter Teeny. Could be just about any computer. We're going to reset the BIOS. We want this thing to be a known clean state at the start. When you try to boot, it should say no operating system. That's true. Empty, clean, ready to go. Now we're going to boot from the flash drive and choose installation. On the licensing screen, we're going to say English is okay, and we're going to agree to the license. Hardwired is the way to go, but today we're going to go through the wireless configuration just for the heck of it. Make sure you only configure one network connection. If you go with wireless, you're going to need the SSID and password key for the local wireless network. We're going to have to enter the IP address for our new server. The network admin will tell you what that is. We're also going to fill in the host name. We're going to fill in the host name again for some reason, and then I'm going to give a name server of 8.8.8.8 that lets me use Google name services for internet connections. We're going to put the IP address of the router. Again, a setting comes from the local area network admin, who will tell you what's the IP address of the router. The system will notice that we have a network connection. Do we want to activate online repositories? Nope. Our system role is just going to be generic desktop. In the partitioning, we're going to choose guided setup. We have something to do. We don't care about disk encryption. We're going to skip that. We're going to choose the old ext4 file system. We don't need a separate swap area. It's only one disk drive. So our suggested partitioning is going to be fairly simple. A couple of partitions on the first hard drive. We're going to fill in the time, and probably it's okay, press next. We're going to skip user creation. The script will take care of making a bunch of users for us. Going to set the root password. Got to remember that one, baby. That's an important one to have. In the security, we're going to start the SSH service, and we're going to open up the SSH port. We're also going to switch the network configuration to wicked. That's better for wired systems. You get a chance to review the system, and we're going to tell it to install, and then we're going to tell it to install, and it's going to take off and run for about 10 minutes before the system reboots. When it reboots, we can log in as root with that password that we remembered from before. We remembered, didn't we? We're going to press mouse 2 and choose xterm just to get to a shell. In the shell, we're going to type in these commands to make a directory for install, copy a file onto it, and eventually we're going to run the install script. And that's GiantLeap.exe install. When you click on that, it's going to take off and run. It's going to do lots of stuff. This was where all the work of the project is, right there. When it's done, you should see a list of users on your screen, and we can type in exit and get out of there. We're going to reboot the system, and now we're going to go into the BIOS, and we're going to tell it the only thing you can boot from is the SATA drive. No USB booting allowed. System should boot now, and you could do whatever you want. You could start the web services if you wanted to, just for something to do. Here's the web services monitor startup screen. Your users are all ready to connect. Now you have a secure shell-based remote desktop server running a business database application.
My name is Mike Gallets. Email mikeg@giantdatabase.com.
This video is part of the Giant Leap project, how to install Windows X2Go client software. Your server is up and running. How do you gain access? For Giant Leap, we use X2Go software with SSH security key. To install the X2Go client software, we're going to make a temporary network database connection, copy software that's already on the server, and paste that software into our workstation. After that, we'll discuss a few setup options. We're going to get that client software from the server using File Explorer to map a network drive. Type in the Giant Leap server IP address and choose the client's folder from the server database. Look inside the Giant Leap package. Select all and copy. Disconnect from the server database. We can paste our files anywhere, choosing the downloads area today. Paste into the destination. Run Giant Leap BAT and enter a username like work01. Your application screen shows up in under 30 seconds. Options. You could create a desktop shortcut. You could name that shortcut too. Probably a good idea. You could put the username in automatically. And if you're working remotely, you probably need the IP address changed. It's in the options of the client software. You start up GiantLeap.bat and you don't say anything. I recommend using a desktop icon with preset user. That makes the user experience seamless and easy. For remote users, you could distribute USB flash drives with the client software on it. Remember, the client software includes the SSH security key for your server. My name is Mike Gallets. Email mikeg@giantdatabase.com. This part of the Giant Leap project is how to set up a template for the Windows X2Go client.
About once a year, when the server software gets updated, the client software might require an update too. This video is about preparing X2Go Windows client software to make the user level installation as painless as possible. A trimmed down and partially configured template package containing X2Go will be created in a file called leapclient.zip.
Create an X2Go Windows client template to match the SUSE server. Make user installation simple by pre-configuring all settings except server IP address and SSH key. Download current Windows client software from x2go.org and save the executable to the desktop. Click to start installing basic X2Go client. Uncheck fonts and shortcut. We only need PuTTY utilities, then next. Destination is C:\client template/software, then next. We don't want any shortcuts created, then install. The install process takes about 10 seconds. Click Finish and it's back to the desktop. Vanilla X2Go software is installed. Now pre-configure as many settings as possible for our application. Open a command prompt. Move to the C:\client template area. Erase the startup.wave sound. Remove the pulse sound directory too. Get the Giant Leap bat file from somewhere. Run Giant Leap bat without any parameters. Don't type user, just press enter. This is the X2Go user interface. Users will not see this screen. They will connect directly to one server. Session name is Giant. We use SSH port 8222. Security key file will be called GiantLeap.key. We want a custom desktop. The command is gleap.exe demo. In the Input-Output tab, choose Full Screen Display. In the Media tab, uncheck Sound Support. Then press OK. The screen should now look like this. Choose Options, then Settings. Choose the Printing tab. Choose View PDF rather than printing. Uncheck Show Dialog when the PDF viewer is on. Press OK button. Close X2Go client. Back to a command prompt. Type exit and press enter. Back to the desktop. Open Disk Explorer and notice the client template folder. Select the client template folder, press mouse 2 to create a compressed folder. Creating the compressed folder on the desktop is okay. Now we have an X2Go software template in zip file format on the desktop. Copy the client template zip file from the desktop to a server for later deployment. Clean up by removing client template's zip file and associated disk folder. Exit to a clean desktop, and the X2Go client template only needs server IP address and SSH key. It's almost ready to go. The GiantLeap bat file is typically referenced as a desktop shortcut, adding user ID as parameter. When started without any parameter, the system prompts for a Giant user ID. Given any non-blank parameter, the system builds a more complicated parameter to start X2Go. Finally, X2Go client is started in portable mode.
Now we have the leapclient.zip package with X2Go Windows client software. It's a template lacking server IP address and SSH key. This file will be included in the Leap server master installation package, and from there it'll get down to the user workstations. My name is Mike Gallets. Email mikeg@giantdatabase.com.
Today, we're going to prepare our ThinkCenter Teeny hardware using a screwdriver to open the box up and replace the hard drive with a brand new SSD drive. As long as we're in there, we're going to replace the little coin cell battery and probably give it a little blow off from any dust that's accumulated. To open the case, you remove one screw from the center in the back. We're going to get rid of the old hard drive, install our new solid-state hard drive, and replace the coin cell battery. The screws to hold the drive are underneath the caddy. We'll install the new hard drive into its caddy and then slide it into place. Once that's done, we replace the top cover of the machine. We've got a computer now that looks pretty much like this, a simple metal box. Mike Gallets' email is mikeg@giantdatabase.com.
We're going to take a look at the script GiantLeap.exe, which controls the installation process of Linux and X2Go on the server. Kind of taking a look at the script from top to bottom, and it's around 600 lines. You can see lots of comments at the top. We'll take a quick look at that. You can see, hey, this script does a lot more than just install. It has a bunch of functions, so we want to look at the install part, but we'll take a look at what the script does, because this is distilled knowledge. This is the stuff that you want to know, but you didn't know when you just installed it and let it go. Cleanup utility, never used. Okay, installing software. Okay, here's a subroutine that will install a piece of software in Linux, and it does it a few different ways. The thing to notice is over here on the side, it's making a log file, gleap log. If something goes wrong in your install, take a look at that log file. There might be something there that'll give you a hint on what the heck happened to you today. Routine for installing a compiler. Normal users don't do that. Website connector. Oh, that's where it is. The application software. Not big for you guys, but this is where you would click in your application as opposed to mine, and you still take advantage of all the automated install and X2Go stuff. Now let's take a look at the bottom here. And here's where you can see all of the commands, what it's going to do. It could do backup, the cleanup thing we looked at, editing. Oh, that's where it connects up to word processing. Install. Okay, that's what we want to look at. Let's go take a look at the install. High level installation logic. Okay, it's repositories, which is places you get software in Linux,
And here we go. We're installing the application. That's that little routine we looked at. This is where you might change the script to make it work a little better for you. Installing backup systems, installing printing. Printing's a big pain in the butt. Here's X2Go. That's an important part. That's your remote access software. From a tech point of view, really, a lot of people look at this video just to see how X2Go works, because we've got a pretty good setup here. And then setting up some desktops and some users. The script takes care of pretty much everything for you. Let's go take a look at that X2Go part if we can find it. And it has to be here someplace. It couldn't be anyplace else. There's a bunch of adding users. Okay, we're coming up, I can tell. Okay, here's X2Go. This is key. This is a beautiful piece of software that's not really well documented. Maybe I can give you a few hints here. Installing RPMs. You know, we looked at that. This is pretty basic stuff, but these is exactly the commands that you need to make this thing work. X2Go works on SSH, Secure Shell. Here's the Secure Shell setup. You don't have to set up Secure Shell. The script does it for you. It starts up X2Go and talks about printing. There is a lot of stuff here. You should take a look at it. You can learn a lot here. And if you have questions, you might even, send me an email, mikeg@giantdatabase.com. Maybe I can help you out with your problem. Take it easy now. Bye.